Welcome to Balanced Life with Debbie Carlin Boyle. Conversations connecting to a healthier you. The show that gives you all the latest and greatest health and wellness information to inspire you to live a life of balance and joy. Debbie Carlin Boyle is a health and nutrition coach, personal trainer, and fitness instructor who helps her clients live in balance with everything that feeds us, in addition to the food on our plate. Please welcome your host, Debbie Carlin Boyle.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. Welcome again. It's Tuesday afternoon. This one is the second Tuesday of the month. I do shows the second and fourth Tuesday of every month, 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time live, and I'm glad you could join us today, this Tuesday in August. It's still summer. It's still warm outside. You've come to me, Debbie Carlin Boyle. My show is Balanced Life, conversations that connect to a healthier you. I like to interview experts in the field of health and wellness with people who live and give information about how to live a life that's holistic and heals from the inside out, and how to start from the beginning, or for wherever you're at, it's never too late. So there's just a wealth of information that you can find on my YouTube channel. But I want to tell you a little bit about me, and I'm going to send you over to how to reach us on the YouTube channel. But a little bit about me: I'm a health and nutrition and fitness coach and personal trainer, and I help people find that balance that we need in life with everything that feeds us, in addition to food on our plate. So food can be set aside for a second, but there are so many other things that need to come together in order for us to have that longevity with quality, as I always say. And my big mantra is, how do we age young? And we're actually going to talk a lot about that today with my guest. But it's important to understand lifestyle and your condition, and the things that you choose to do with your life are going to make a difference in that aging young process. So I love to help people with that. And to get a hold of me, you can go to my website, which is Balanced Life by Debbie. It's one word, Balanced Life by Debbie, DEBI.com. And there you'll find you're going to see a pop-up right away, which is a 3-day detox. And this detox, especially for now in summer, we want to feel lighter on our feet. It's hot outside. We don't want to feel bogged down, and extra weight can do that. And this detox is really going to help you feel, a lot lighter. It's going to kind of clear out the cobwebs in your brain, and you're going to feel healthier, which in turn is going to give you joy. So in order to do that, when you go to my website, just click on that pop-up, put your name in, and I'm going to send you that 3-day detox, which has to do with food and recipes and things that are healthy for you. It's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. There's a market list with it. So I invite you to get in touch with me that way, or say hi on Connect. And right there, we can talk about whatever your needs might be, because I sit down with people after you fill out a form, and we individually discover what it is that might be low on the totem pole of life for you, and we're going to put it right back and even it out in balance with small, actionable steps that you can take with a coach, with guidance. We all need a coach. I need a coach. Everybody needs a coach. It's always good. Even the best, even the goats of the world need coaches, because how do you think they got to be the goat? So I invite you to get in touch with me. I also invite you to become part of the conversation that we're having today. So if you want to become part of that conversation verbally, you can call us. And the phone number here is area code 323-524-2599. Once again, area code 323-524-2599. At any point during the show, if you have a question or even a testimonial, if you've worked with my guests today, or anything a comment, just call in and ask us. We want you. The idea of doing a live show for me is to make the audience part of the conversation, not to just drill you with information, but to become like a full circle conversation for us. So if you're watching the show after the fact and you do want to get involved, go ahead and make a comment or ask a question on my YouTube channel, which now is Balanced Life by Debbie, DEBI YouTube. We are streaming live there right now. Or my Facebook page, Balanced Life by Debbie, same spelling, and we're streaming live right there. You can make a comment, ask a question anytime during or after the show, and myself or my guests will get back to you if it's a question, and that will still keep you engaged. I like these conversations to go on beyond the show. So there you have it. I hope you want to get involved. And I hope if you don't, that you get a lot of great information today, because we do have a good subject. So on with the introduction. So for all the years I've been in the holistic health field, there is one thing I've always stressed to my clients, my friends, family, and with all the seminars and talks I've done, is that you have control over your constitution or your genetics with how you do or you don't take care of yourself. So my guest today, Dr. Deepa Grandon, is an expert in the field of epigenetics, which we will focus on today. Dr. Grandon is a double board certified physician. She is a diplomate of the American Board of Internal Medicine, the American Board of Allergy and Immunology, and is currently enrolled in the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. With over 22 years of experience working as a physician consultant for major organizations around the world, she decided to launch her own health and wellness global virtual company, Transformational Life Consulting, or otherwise known as TLC. Her main driver in launching her consultancy firm is Dr. Grandon believes for people to experience total and complete healing. All spheres of human life need to be acknowledged. These spheres include spiritual, mental, and physical. While practicing traditional medicine, Dr. Grandon realized the brokenness in the spirit and mind hindered total and complete healing in the body. Her work at Transformational Life Consultancy focuses on empowering her clients to take control of their health and wellness by altering their genetic expression through healthy lifestyle choices. So, let's talk all about these choices, shall we? Please welcome my guest, Dr. Deepa Grandon, to the show. And there you are.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks, Debbie. Thanks for that great introduction. It was amazing. Thank
Well,
you.
you're amazing. You have a lot of credits to your credit, and I'm so excited. Thank you for joining us today and for sharing your expertise, because we have a lot to talk about and unpack here for people to understand that, a lot of times in my practice with clients, friends, family, I spend a lot of time in locker rooms being in the fitness field. And I hear conversations that I don't necessarily become part of, but I hear women talk all the time. Well, it's my genetics. Genetically, I'm screwed, blah, blah, blah. And I really want to talk about that today, because I never chime in unless somebody asks me a question directly. But I want people to understand that they do have control over that. So, but before we get started on that whole subject, I want to hear a little bit about you, where you're born, where you're from, your background, even your childhood, and then, just working your way up to how you started what you are doing today.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for that introduction again. But a little bit about myself. I'm Indian. I grew up in the Middle East in the United Arab Emirates. My family moved to the U.S. when I was in my late teens. So I did most of my medical training here in the U.S. and I am a U.S. board certified physician. After I got married, my husband and I just go back to the United Arab Emirates because my family started a school for foreigners, which are commonly called as expatriates in the UAE. That's the term that's used. And in so doing, Cleveland Clinic, which is a hospital in Cleveland, Ohio, also opened a branch in Abu Dhabi. And so I transitioned there and started practicing there. And then through COVID and post-COVID, I was really inspired and almost pushed in a way because of those types of circumstances when I saw how inadequate traditional medicine is in addressing the whole person. Because spiritually and mentally, people have needs which sometimes they don't even know is there. And when it's not addressed or even completely ignored, the amount of healing that we're able to offer people seem incomplete. And so that's the reason why I decided I wanted to do my own type of practice. So while my company currently, which is Transformational Life Consulting, it's more like a consultation or coaching type of a encounter as opposed to medical practice per se. And I also want to give a disclaimer that everything that I say today, it's not medical advice, but it's just information and sharing of information. Before people, do any of what I'm saying, they need to check with their medical practitioner before doing it. But anyway, the reason I'm talking about it from a coaching perspective, because coaching is powerful, because a lot of times the blocks that we see or the reason that we're not able to move forward with achieving health goals is sometimes in our own mindset. Just like you were talking about, Debbie, people very commonly allude to genetics, or this is my luck or my lot or my lottery in life, and I'm doomed to being obese or having diabetes or hypertension, and that's the kind of mindset a lot of people live with and can hinder healing from a place that people already have that capacity to heal and make changes that can heal them from the inside out, and yet they're not able to do it because of their mindset. So that's why I found the coaching aspect very powerful and wanted to start as a coach consultant, if you will. And then everything that I use is from a place where I can open people's eyes to see that they have the power within themselves to find the healing. Like they don't have to just, resort to just medications or put things in their body or do something that only somebody else can do in a lab in order to fix themselves. They have the ability through their own day-to-day habits, the food they eat, the choices they make to help heal themselves. So that's the reason why it's been a huge transition for me personally to do this on my own, because that's how much I believe in it, and gives me a lot more satisfaction in practicing and bringing healing in people's lives in that way.
So, so I have a question. Do you, since you have this medical background, do you overlap sort of from a functional medicine standpoint and your coaching skills? Do you overlap your medical and the coaching skills together? Let's say if you wanted to do a Dutch test or blood test to find if someone comes to you with an autoimmune disease, do you dig in deep with a client that way too, and then help from the coaching aspect to heal them holistically, or do you not get involved in any of the testing?
So one of the things I differentiate with the way with my consultation, if you will, it's purely from a coaching perspective, but I do like an introductory one-on-one coaching session where I do advise patients get, for instance, like hemoglobin A1C, apolipoprotein A and B, fasting lipids, but I don't personally do it. I have them get it done with their physician, because I want to differentiate medical practice versus just pure lifestyle changes. So I'm not a functional medicine doctor. I'm a lifestyle doctor, which is a little bit different. From lifestyle medicine, we purely focus on evidence-based medicine that shows how lifestyle changes can significantly impact your health and how your body manifests different disease forms or reverse it in a way by just purely using like diet and exercise, stress management, sleep, community, things like that.
Okay, I see. Yeah, I just wanted to see. That's what I thought, but I wanted to check because you do have that background, and I know.
Hmm.
And see, I think that is the difference between coaching and any kind of doctor, even a functional medicine doctor. And what you were saying
Right.
is that we work with you. We work with you on a constant basis. Functional medicine doctors are even busy, and they do give you the time of day. I do go to one. You do get the time of day. They do spend time with you, but then all the tests go out and the tests come back. They talk to you about the results, which is similar to what, Western medicine traditional doctor would do. And then you're sort of on your own, here, go figure it out. And as a
Yeah.
coach with the background that you have, you can be there all the way to help steps, every single step. And I know you have your pillars, and we're going to talk about that, and your programs that you do with clients with group programs. So we'll get into all that. Let's go right into, because the topic of today is the power of epigenetics. So a lot of people don't even know what that means. So let's break it down and then talk about how that is a way we can control our health. And I know, just going back a little bit, I know your parents didn't live that healthy of a lifestyle, which is really what made you see that the
Hmm.
holistic taken care of, in spite of your constitution, you can actually make changes. I have a very similar story. I watched my father, he died at a very young age. His lifestyle was about as unhealthy as you could get, and being a child of parents like that, that's what we see, so that's what we do, that's what we're given, especially when we're very young, and it's sort of out of our control. And then, of course, sugar is addicting, and we get used to processed foods with all the chemicals in it because that's addicting, and we think it's okay because we're not sick, and we just think when you get older, that's what happens. And I discovered at 18, it doesn't have to be that way. And so I discovered early enough to make the changes. But a lot of people, that's when disease kicks in because you don't discover it early enough. So let's talk
Exactly.
about epigenetics and what it is. Let's start with the definition.
Okay. So, epigenetics is basically the study of how your behavior and the environment you're in can change the way your genes are expressed. So it has a very different meaning than genetics. So genetics, like you alluded to, Debbie, is something that, we inherit from our parents. And the surprising thing, it's like literally 4 base pairs, which is like the adenine, thymine, cytosine, guanine. I mean, for a lot of people, they may or may not be familiar with these terms or names, but those are the 4 bases or nucleotides that make up the entire human genome. And it's extremely fascinating when you go into the study of epigenetics, because while we have for the longest time been told, even when I was in medical school, if you have diabetes, if you're hypertension, that's it, you're stuck, right? But more and more, it's, we can actually change how our genetics express themselves. And that's where lifestyle is huge. And lifestyle is what influences the epigenetics, because epigenetics, while it has the name gene in it, it does nothing to change the DNA sequencing. Meaning your DNA sequencing is what, gives you the color of your hair, the color of your eyes, and certain genetic diseases are transmitted. And some of those, you can, now we're doing a lot of genetic editing to help certain individuals that type of disease. But I'm not even talking about such high-tech medicine. I'm just talking about, what are you eating? Like, what's in your kitchen? How nutritious is your food? How much intention do you put in how you live your life? Are you just going about your day-to-day activity, living life, in a mindless way, or are you being very conscious about the decisions you make? Because those are the things that affect the way your genes express themselves. And so the whole field of epigenetics, while it's relatively new, but it's really given medical practitioners a new understanding of how powerful habits and life-changing, the behavior that you implement on a day-to-day basis is. So that's basically what epigenetics is, because epigenetics, it studies how lifestyle changes and even like things like air pollution or the community, the type of community people live in, the type of work they do. Are you a night shift worker? All of those change the way your genetics manifest themselves. And when I'm talking about the DNA expression, there's many types of chemical modifications that happen at a cellular level. So as people age, we can always look at somebody and go, oh yeah, they might be in their 40s or they might be in their 50s. And when you ask them their age, they might actually be 60s or in their 70s. And then, we all know people like that, like they look younger than their chronological age, or they look older. And really the reason is it's a sum accumulation of the habits that they've created over time. And that's the reason why, like, even the really young individuals, the more knowledge they have and the earlier in life that you make these changes, it's almost like putting money in a bank. I love Dr. Michael Roizen. He is the chief wellness physician at the Cleveland Clinic main campus. And he's written a lot of books about the great age reboot and real age. And he's even created like this calculator where you can put in parameters that will tell you what is your actual age, right? So chronologically, like if you've been born in the 1980s and now you can calculate your age, that's something that we call chronological age. But there's something known as biological age. So biological age is as time goes by, what you do on a daily basis determines how young your cells stay. So that's what epigenetics studies, is how your environment influences the expression of your genes. And so just because your parents, for instance, for me, like you had pointed out, yes, both my parents had diabetes, hypertension, and they did not have the luxury of the knowledge that I have. So I was able to make those changes and self-engineer, if you will, how my genes manifested. So I don't have to be on a ton of medications and be labeled diabetic or hypertensive. So that's where epigenetics is such an amazing, powerful field that anybody can implement these changes, self-engineer, and become a version of yourself that you want to be. You don't have to just say, oh, this is my genetics, this is what I'm stuck with.
I love that. I think it's so powerful. It's so powerful that we have control. And if anything in my talks, I talk about you do have control over your lifestyle. And the choices you make really can make a huge difference. And then there are no big excuses, because people blame genetics on, well, this is why I'm fat. This is why I can't lose weight. This is why I'm sick. And in some cases, like you said, there is the DNA predispositions. There's the BRCA gene, for example. But again, I think you can, like you said, there's so many strides being made in the genetic gene world right now that those can even change. I have a question though. So if you grow up with a certain lifestyle, you clearly want to be healthier, so you are changing, your epigenetics are changing, you're becoming much healthier through lifestyle changes, and then you start your own family. Can you change the actual DNA that's going into your offspring through, let's say both parents have made very, very holistic, full circle changes, and now they're healthy? Can that, I know once the child's here, the lifestyle of the child's going to come into play, but will the actual DNA and the genes change?
Yes, totally.
Okay.
So just like unhealthy behavior causes, it's called a methylation. Well, that's the one aspect of genetics or epigenetics has been studied the most, is the DNA methylation. So the methyl group can either turn genes on or off, and these are transferable to future generations. But like you said, it also depends on the child and what the child decides to do.
Mm-hmm.
So just to give you a little bit of context, there was a Dutch study looked at victims of or people who survived World War II. And what they found is because the body was so exposed to having a food shortage or like almost like a famine situation, the genetics was expressed in a way that the individual that had a child later on, and then the child was exposed to a high calorie environment, those children had a higher risk of, say, diabetes and hypertension, even if they had a lower BMI. And we see that a lot with Indians because during the British colonization, there were a lot of famines, and the genetics of the Indian population was also that type of genetic pool would do great if there was a food shortage. But living in like countries or communities where there was a lot of food, Indians specifically as a subgroup were very high risk for diabetes, hypertension, even at a very low BMI. And we also have a much smaller lean mass. We secrete less insulin. So these changes happened during the British colonization. Now it's been transferred to children who are now living, even if you're living in India or Western civilization. We found that and these individuals, even with low BMIs like 22, 23, they're still prone to being pre-diabetic and diabetic. So while changes that you make can definitely be transferred to your children, sometimes because of the exposures that you've had, and now that your genetic expression has changed because of those environmental factors, sometimes your children have to work harder.
Yeah, that's what I would think. I would think. Yeah, I'm offspring from the World War II famine from Auschwitz, and so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I mean, no, not immediate 3 generations, but still, it's you know, I'm an Ashkenazi Jew that BRCA gene I've been tested for, and luckily because I do have 2 daughters as well, I'm not a carrier. But still, you know, it's one of those things that would have put me in that category to have to work a little harder, and I think I have, especially growing up in the lifestyle of the family I grew up in. We're going to take a quick break, but we're going to come back. We're going to break it down. We're going to break down how you know, all of the pillars that we talked about. I think it's 6 pillars that you have, and why that's so important to the whole overall holistic person to be well. And I just love the fact being that my kids are in the reproduction stages right now, and I do have one granddaughter, and that the way they take care of themselves now is going to affect their offspring. I just love hearing that. So we'll be right back after this message from my sponsor really quickly. Cicera Olio de Oliva is an extra virgin olive oil company with a mission to provide high-quality, current-season Italian oils to families. They have partnered with 2 centuries-old family farms in the Tuscany region of Italy to grow, harvest, and bottle their amazing oils. Founded by a nutritionist who has a love of the land, sustainability, nutritious foods, and of course, Italy, they strive for a peak freshness and high nutritional content in every single bottle. All of their oils are current season, extra virgin olive oil, bringing you a true branch to bottle experience, and I know firsthand. So, for an offer, go to www.cesiroliva.com and enter Balanced Life 10 for 10% off. I know you're going to love this healthy and delicious addition to just about any meal. Okay, we're back. Thank you. And if you're joining us, we're here. You've reached my podcast, which is Balanced Life with Debbie Carlin Boyle. on conversations that connect to a healthier you. Great conversation today with my guest, Dr. Deepa Grandon. And we're talking about the power of epigenetics and how you can change your genetic expression. And we're going to talk about how she works with her clients on that right after I give you the phone number to join our conversation. So if you want to become part of this and ask a question live right now on the air, we're at 323-524-2599. So give us a call or go to my Facebook page or my YouTube channel. You'll reach it, Balanced Life by Debbie, DEBI, and make a comment, ask a question there. I keep checking throughout the show so we can answer live on the air. If I miss it, or if you're watching after the fact, we'll do it after the show, and we'll notify you when the answer is up. All right. Thank you so much. Welcome back. We were getting into our lifestyle could play a part in our offspring's lifestyle, which I think is very cool. But for people that have already sort of not been living that very holistic lifestyle and come to you to change everything in their life so they can have longevity with quality, what are these pillars that you talk about? How do you work with your clients?
All right, thank you. That's a great question. So I think a big differentiation of my style of practice, say from a regular lifestyle medicine style of practice, is the cornerstone of my practice is I stress spirituality. That's my very first pillar that I use. And the reason spirituality is such an important part of my practice is because of my own spiritual journey. When I was in medical school, I was actually challenged by some other medical students about my own relationship with God and higher power. I grew up in a very religious background, went to mass and went to church and everything, but I never ever thought of it as a relationship with a higher power. And when that got challenged and I started to delve deeper into it and, just facing life and facing hardships and things like that, over time, it made me realize how important that relationship was. So it wasn't just about a religious activity or just following some sort of a religious routine, but it was an actual relationship with the higher power. So I started to actually do research into how does spirituality affect somebody's health. And I was quite honestly surprised at how there are some really well-reviewed scientific data that look into the strength or the power of spirituality on a person's mental, physical, emotional well-being. And some of those make a lot of sense because it has to do almost with like a sense of greater internal control. Like you're not just depending on external agents to control outcomes, but knowing that there is a higher power, there is a source out there that you can lean on and draw strength from, regardless of what type of challenge it is you're facing. So it wasn't just me making up stuff to say, hey, you need to look into this, but there's a lot of actual scientific evidence that supports the importance of spirituality. So when most people that get attracted to my program already have some sort of a spiritual background, so it doesn't really sound like I'm just talking a bunch of mumbo jumbo to them, and they're actually interested in finding out more about having a relationship with a higher power. And so I tell them the reasons why I have put spirituality as my first pillar, because when you do have that relationship, it helps, it actually overflows. And, in general, even the lifestyle medicine, the preaching that they do with the 6 pillars, all of these overflow into each other. But really the root of having a strong spiritual foundation, when you're not doing life on your own, there is a higher power that you can have a relationship and that will help you through hardships. It overflows into your mental well-being and your physical well-being as well. So that is the first pillar that I use.
I'm going to hold you before you get to the second one because we have a phone call. So okay. We're going to take the call right now. Hi, caller. Are you there? And where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Laura.
Hi,
And
Laura.
I'm
Hi,
calling from
Laura.
Dallas.
Where are you,
Hi.
Laura? Where are you located?
I'm in Dallas, Texas.
Oh, you're in Dallas, Texas. Okay, I didn't know that. Hi, Laura. How are you today?
Hi, Laura.
I'm great. Hi, Dr. Deepa.
Do you have a question for Dr. Deepa or a testimonial, maybe?
I actually do have a question. I'm postmenopausal, and I have a risk. Hello?
Oh, we're here.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear us?
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. Okay. So I'm postmenopausal, and I have a risk for certain cancers because I have a CHEK2 mutation. And I can't take hormone replacement therapy. So I'm just wondering if there's anything else I can do beyond healthy diet and exercise to help with some of the symptoms that I'm experiencing.
Are your
All right.
symptoms hot flashes and night sweats and that kind of thing?
Yeah,
Hair
a little bit of weight gain. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I can
Yeah.
relate.
Yeah. So that's a great question, Laura, because while we have these genetic, we call it almost aberrations or abnormalities, again, that's where the epigenetic part of it is so crucial. Because some of these abnormal, like especially cancer cells, they behave in a manner that causes them to proliferate or keep multiplying in a way that is unchecked. And where epigenetics plays a role is the whole gamut of, like, say, stress management, sleep, having a diet that's really rich in antioxidants, taking multivitamins, exercising. All of these help the reducing oxidative stress at a cellular level. And it's the when you continually do this on a regular basis, we have found that it boosts the cancer fighting potential of the body. And so even individuals who have like the cancer genes, they are way more able to protect their bodies from actually turning off the genes that promote cancer. In fact, there was a study that was done looking at men that had the genetic risk for prostate cancer. And by just implementing, like, say, physical activity, stress management, diet regimens, they were able to turn off the genes that are associated with cancer growth and cancer propitiation. And the similar findings were also found with colon and breast cancer. So lifestyle changes are extremely protective. Now, will it 100% prevent you from getting cancer? No, but your chances are way more positive than somebody who does nothing about it. And really, like, even people who have no family history of, say, cancer, if they are leading lives that are sedentary, there is no intentional measures in place to manage stress, that, you know, they're not really paying attention to their sleep and things like that. Just the fat accumulation within the body, the fat cells are so inflammatory and carcinogenic. And the reason is because those genes that promote cancer are turned on by those types of lifestyle choices. And the reverse is also true, that if you make those lifestyle choices that have a higher cancer fighting, because your immune cells are more able right now to detect and to get rid of these cancer cells, that you're actually protecting yourself. And one more thing that I think is quite important for people to also be aware of is something called autophagy. So autophagy is where there are organelles within your cell called your lysosome, where like these types of diseased cells get destroyed. So that's where things like intermittent fasting, or just, you know, fasting for prolonged periods, like say 24 to 48 hours, it promotes where these abnormal cells get they get destroyed within the body. So that's the reason why there is so much emphasis on what is it that you're doing on a day-to-day basis is way more important than just the genetics that you were born with. Yes, we don't always control what genes we inherit, but we can control how they get expressed. Does that make sense?
Yeah, this makes great sense. And it's actually kind of encouraging because I'm trying to do a lot of these things, diet and exercise.
Yeah.
And I eat well. I think maybe I will add some intermittent fasting because I have thought about that. So this just kind of fuels me to do that.
And that will help with her symptoms, those postmenopausal symptoms that really keep us up. I mean, literally wake us up in the middle of the night. And because of the night sweats and the hot flashes, the lifestyle changes will help with all those symptoms, correct?
Yeah. And there's even, nutritional, and that's something you could discuss with the lifestyle-based nutritionists like flaxseed and acai seeds. All of these, they do have some natural quantities of the calming chemicals within your body to reduce that inflammatory state, or even to sometimes overcome some of that flushing feeling that you're feeling. And coenzyme Q10. So there's a lot of natural supplements too that you can take, but just focusing on purely lifestyle changes and even being concerned about how these cancer cells are going to manifest over time. I think it's extremely, and the data is extremely encouraging, looking at how lifestyle changes are extremely powerful.
Does that help you, Laura? Because I love that.
That's great.
Yeah. Well, good.
Yeah, it helps me a lot. I'm grateful. Thank you very much.
Thank you for calling in. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. Yeah, that's it's a good question because, all, hormones dictate so much about what's going on in our body, and lifestyle dictates hormones. It's sort of this full circle thing. So understanding what happens to us when we have a loss of hormones, and then you can't replace them, because replacement therapy is good for some people. I mean, there's a lot of research done about that it can be it can be beneficial, in spite of the fact that sometimes in some people it could be a little higher risk, let's say, for breast cancer. But I think if you're well-informed, you know where you're coming from, you know your body, you know what you're doing, you keep up on your numbers of what's going on, I'm not opposed to it. I've been in both ways post-menopause, and definitely the hormone therapy works better for me. That much I know. And it's so individual, like everything else in life. It's not a one size fits all individually. Totally. But, there are certain things we know universally. But I want to get to the rest of the pillars, because universally we know about the blue zones and how lifestyle, because spirituality is a huge part of the blue zone people, and these are people throughout the world, and they're different. There are 5 different countries in the world, one of which is here in the United States, right here in California, in my backyard, where they live past, they have a high number of people that are living beyond 100 years old and healthy. They're aging young, basically, with all of their faculties. And a lifestyle, the way they live their lives is proof of that. And those studies have been done. But in the time we have left, I want to before we get to how people can work with you and stuff, I want to hear the rest of the pillars in the time we have left.
Yeah, so my second pillar is minding your mental and emotional health. So one of the things I've been really surprised with working with my clients is people know, yes, I need to exercise. Yes, I need to eat right. But when you're talking about how do you take care of your mental health, they draw a blank, because nobody really talks a lot about self-care. So self-care is huge as far as what do you do to unplug? What do you do to unwind when you get home? And as a physician, I see that a lot with my colleagues, So one of the things that we're facing right now is a huge number of physician burnout. We are always taught that patients come first, which is extremely important. But if patients come first 24/7, 365 days of the year, the physician is not going to last very long. Because when you go home, and that can go with any job, because when you go home, you need to have strategy in place as to how do you take care of yourself, how do you take care of your mind, how do you unplug. And there are so many great articles now, and even scientific documents that talk about nature walks, taking a bath, breathing exercises, meditation, yoga, finding things that you love, like doing an art project. And nobody would even think that these things are important, but just as you take time, like to say brush your teeth or to eat a healthy meal, de-stressing, unplugging, and having some sort of a routine in place to feed yourself, or at least to unplug mentally, is just as important. And so that's the reason why, after I deal with the spiritual aspect, we have to be intentional in developing that relationship with higher power. Second is developing habits and keeping habits, or creating routines or rituals where you can unplug, and something that makes you relax, because everybody's different in how they feel relaxed. And so that also takes time to connect with yourself and know who you are as a person. And it can be very simple. It doesn't have to be very complicated. Like, you can just go for a walk in your backyard, or take a soak in your tub with some Epsom salt, listen to some calming music, get a massage. There's so many different options, but knowing who you are is extremely important for that to work.
Yeah. And I agree. I couldn't agree more. I work with that with my clients all the time. And I give them ways, because they don't want to do the research. That's why they're working with me. I've got the laundry list of ways they can do that. Tell them where to get the products that they need, or download the app for meditation. It's so important. That's a big part of holistic wellness. And what's number 3?
So pillar number 3 is eating natural, unprocessed foods. So when you had mentioned about the blue zones, so one of the things that's common about in these 5 countries these 5 places in the world, which is Okinawa, Japan, Sardinia, Italy, Nicoya, Costa Rica, Icaria, Greece, and Loma Linda, California. All of these places, the one thing that was common is they all ate unprocessed foods. Okay. So if the way I tell my clients, an easy way to differentiate unprocessed from processed. So unprocessed is God-made food, and processed is man-made food. So processed foods is foods that you cannot recognize the source. Okay, for instance, like say Cheetos or Doritos or chocolate. So these are the types of foods that have a lot of chemicals. They have a very high shelf life. And more, we're seeing diseases that manifest from just those, especially people who just eat that type of food. And those are the types of foods that make it really hard for you to lose weight. They are highly addicting. In fact, they are created in a way to be addicting. So, the food industry will commonly, blame it on people's lack of self-control. But the truth is, it's really the way the food has been designed. And you had mentioned about the addicting quality of sugar. Sugar is like literally 10 times more addicting than cocaine. They actually did study on rats where they would electrocute rats, but they would continue to eat the sugar because of how addicting it is. And so one of the things that I do with my practice, when I'm going through the 6 pillars, is I go through a sugar and carb detox. And now that, I have all this knowledge, everywhere I go, I'm just amazed at how nutritionally deficient the offerings of foods
so
are.
bad.
Like if you,
bad.
At the airport, right? Like you can barely find food that's free of flour.
No, you just have to go for nuts. But even the nuts have been processed because there's some kind of bad oil or additives in them to some kind of make them spicy or sugary. It's a real problem in this country and the world, I think. But that's That's awareness, and that's what coaches are for. We help you read labels. We help you, when you're out and about, be able to delineate and see where is the food, like you said, God made, where's the food from the earth, and where's the food that man's manipulated. That's processed food. It's been processed. We're running out of time, and I really want I want you to list the other pillars, but we're not going to be able to get into them because we have other shows that go live after us. So tell us what the other pillars are, and then let's talk about what you have coming up.
Sure. So pillar 4 is movement. Pillar 5 is sunshine, relaxation, and sleep. And pillar 6 is letting go of toxic substances and instead plugging into loving communities.
I love that. And we can kind of surmise, but if you want more detail, where can they go? How can they reach you, Dr. Deepa, at your website? What is that? And because I know this breaks down all on your website, and you also your YouTube channel. You have a whole YouTube on the 6 pillars. Where can people hear all the details?
Yeah, so I actually have another webinar coming up on August 12th where I will be going more in depth into epigenetics, what it is, and how you can self-engineer your health by just using the pillars that I was talking about. So both August 12th and August 19th, I will be doing that. And if you go to my website, which is drdeepa-tlc.org, you can get information on that. And I think, Debbie, you've also posted on your show notes links where they can go to the registration page, and that will give you access to the Zoom link on the day of the webinar. So the webinar, they both are Saturday, August 12th and August 19th. And it is 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Beautiful. So that's the way you can really get into the details of what we're talking about today. And how can people name your website if they're just listening? It was up. It's up on the screen, but
sure, it's drdeepa-tlc.org.
And Deepa is spelled Deepa. Correct? Yes.
Okay,
so there you can, again, it's a wealth of information on what Dr. Deepa does and how she can help you really with your lifestyle changes that ultimately can change your genetics and change the outlook, not just for you, but for your expanding family. And again, I think it's never too late for anybody to make changes. It doesn't matter. I'm 65 years old. If I wasn't living a healthy lifestyle, I would want to kick in and start today. Fortunately, I changed my lifestyle when I was 18. So I hopefully have changed the genetic code for my kids, who are then now my granddaughters and my granddaughter and so on down the line. That's what I'm hoping for, because I lost a lot of my family above me at a very, very, very young age, and that was not fun. I want you to leave us with some final words. So it'd be words of wisdom, a thought, even just a word, a phrase, something, just a final thought for the audience.
Yeah, so I would say I want to leave it at a positive note that you are a self-engineer, that you have your destiny in your hands with God's help, that nothing is impossible. Take baby steps. It's never too late to change, and don't ever give up. Always reach out. There are tons of people with knowledge on this topic. So there's many, many places you can reach out to get more information.
Love it.
And I'll be happy if it's me.
Yeah, I hear you. I love, like I said, I think everybody needs a coach, no matter how good you are at your craft or what it is that you're doing, or you have no idea where to start. We all need coaches, and find something. And when it comes to our health, if you want to live a life of quality with longevity, then get some help and reach out. Thank you so much, Doctor, for your time, your energy, your expertise. Appreciate it so much. I'm so glad we did this show. And I want to thank you, my audience, for being with us today. And if you have a question or a comment, just go to the Facebook page, go to the YouTube channel, and ask away, and we'll keep this conversation going. In the meantime, I'll be back in 2 weeks, the 4th Tuesday of the month, and I want you to keep going out and finding those conversations that connect to a healthier you. All right. Thank you again. Bye, everybody. Bye.
Thanks, Debbie. Bye.
Thank you.